Oh, oh God. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Capesta here. This is the normal healer guide for Galakras. As usual, you can click on the annotations on screen to get one of the guides for any different role or the full raid guide. So let's get started. So the goal of this fight is to destroy all the creatures on the towers on either side, and then use the guns at the top to shoot Galakras down, at which point you can engage and kill her. However, this means that your raid will need to be split up kind of in equal parties. So one group will be dealing with the waves of enemies down in the pathway here, and the other group will be dealing with the creatures on the towers. So usually one of these groups will have one healer, and the other will have another healer. So depending what you're assigned to will change what you need to do. So healing the pathway is the more healing intensive assignment for this fight. There's more damage going on. On the other hand, there's not as much movement, and if you don't really do much damage output while you heal, then you're probably best assigned to the pathway healing. That said, you're basically going to heal the one tank down here with a huge number of mobs, while also helping to control a few of the creatures. Specifically, if a skull splitter targets one of the NPCs that's helping you out, you're going to want to use stuns if you have them available after the skull splitter charges toward them, and this will stop it from killing the NPC. Otherwise, focus your main heals on the tank, and then of course just keep up the rest of the party that's down here. When the towers are activated, you will be probably the only healer unless your raid is using 3 healers with 2 down here. So you mainly want to use your heal cooldowns at the time. Finally, on the pathway, there are a couple lieutenant mobs that are sort of stronger creatures that are a little bit more dangerous. Watch for the cleave attacks that they do, the cone attacks, as well as the poison that's left on the ground. One of them will also grip you in and do sort of a stomp attack, so make sure you run out from that quickly. But other than that, it's all just basic trash mobs for the most part. Now, if you're assigned to heal the towers, again, this is better for healers that can do damage while healing, so monks, disc priests, or just healers that are good at movement, because there are a lot of sidestepping sort of moves you have to do to avoid getting knocked off the tower. So here you can see I'm assigned to healing the towers, so I'm going up with our monk tank and a few other DPS. The basic goal here is to stay in the center, because it's easier to dodge the cone attack from the lieutenants up here. If the cone attack hits you, you will be knocked off the tower, which is obviously bad. You can also use the ropes that are attached to the tower to get up and down pretty quickly, or at least up, I think. I don't know if you can get down the same way. But essentially, your goal here is to keep everyone topped off. There's a thunderclap on this first guy that hits for pretty moderate damage. And then, of course, you saw there that I got knocked off. That's because the demolisher that spawns down below will stun players up on the tower pretty frequently until it's killed. So it's really important that people that are down below kill the demolisher as quickly as possible. But as the healer on the tower, if you get knocked off, just try to run back up, call for your group to use cooldowns to survive until you can get up there and all that stuff. Once the tower is destroyed, your tank should stay up there and handle the gun, and as the healer you can drop down and help the rest of the raid for a while until the other tower activates. Now, finally, we have phase 2. So once both towers have been destroyed, or the creatures on it, both of the guns shall be used by 2 people simultaneously to shoot Galakras, and then she'll come down and you can fight her. So in the video, unfortunately, this is a strategy that didn't work that we're trying out, but the diagram on the top left there shows the actual positioning for this phase. This is the most difficult phase for healing by far. There's a lot of damage going on. So this is when you're going to want to rotate your heal and damage reduction cooldowns for the raid. For the diagram there, you can see that the blue marker is where the tank will stand. The boss is at the red square. The rest of the raid should be stacked up behind the boss at the orange location. Now, during this phase, random players will be targeted by these orbs that shoot out. And after a few seconds, the orb will land at the player's location and explode. So if you get targeted by an orb, you want to simply back up a few yards behind the raid location, so you stand at the yellow marker there, and wait for the orb to explode. Every time it passes through a player before it explodes, the damage from the explosion will be reduced. However, all those players that were touched will gain a stacking dot that increases for every stack in damage. So the idea here is to have everyone that's targeted by an orb move back behind the raid. The orb damage will be reduced because it passes through most of the raid, and then the player moves back to the raid position after their orb explodes. Once you reach a certain threshold of stacks, whatever that happens to be, that's good for your raid, but say it's 6 stacks of the dot, then you move out by yourself to the left or the right, so at the green marker there on the side, and wait for the dot to fade on its own. It only lasts for 15 seconds. Once the dot has faded, you move back into the raid position behind the boss and repeat this process over and over. Meanwhile, as a healer, again, you're spamming all your heals, your big cooldowns, as this is sort of a soft and rage phase, so the damage will scale up as the phase progresses. And that's it, really. So that's the normal healer guide. Good luck, and thanks for watching.